What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's video. Guys, the channel name, as you guys can see, is called MJG Trades, and that is exactly what we're going to be doing on this channel. We're going to be talking about all things the stock market, a little bit of a background. I'll keep it short and sweet. I have 7 years of experience trading in the markets. I do have a very extensive background in accounting as well. And I just plan to utilize everything that I've learned to share different ideas with you guys. I plan on doing it in a fun, simplistic way. So no matter where you're at, in terms of your experience, you'll be able to find value from these videos. So with that being said, guys, let's dive into this. Now, in this video, guys, we're not going to do a whole lot of editing. I'm just going to be going off the rip here. We're going to be looking at the financial statements. We're going to be looking at the technical chart, and just giving our opinion about why AMD is at where it's at, where it could possibly go, and just everything you need to know about this name. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into this name. Guys, looking at AMD, as you guys are aware, the semiconductor names were the hottest names in the market for the last year or so, even a little bit longer. For good reason. We are seeing massive amounts of expenditures coming in to, gobble up the NVIDIA chips, we'll say, but not just NVIDIA. A lot of other companies are seeing huge demand as well. And that is ultimately what led to the massive semi boom. People saw that NVIDIA had a product that no one else could even compete with. Essentially, what their product does is it is a GPU that allows users of it to compute at a very fast level. In simplest terms, it's able to generate images, videos, whatever you can think of, anything AI related. These chips are able to do it because they're able to process things incredibly quickly. So that being said, let's get all that stuff out of the way. Let's dive into AMD stock. Guys, AMD stock has came a long way down from its top here at about $225 per share. We are currently sitting at $125 per share. Guys, I had a TikTok page that we had about 22,000 followers on it. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with TikTok right now, so that's kind of why I'm posting on YouTube now as well. This is one of the big names I called out to the downside. Just even at this point, guys, I want to point out our price to earnings sitting at, let me move my face, sitting at 116.83 right here. It's incredibly high. What this is telling us is that as an investor, you have to pay $116 for $1 of future earnings of AMD. It's very expensive. The S&P trades at like right around 20-ish, give or take, like kind of like 5 to 10 up or down, just depending on what's going on in the market that year. But essentially, that's where they normally sit. Now, a growth company can sit at a much higher price to earnings. You're looking at 40 up to like 80, maybe even sometimes in some cases, if there's just some really crazy growth happening, it can sit higher. But my concern lies in the AMD's growth and its priced earnings, because high priced earnings typically insinuates strong growth, but we're not seeing that growth coming in here on AMD. We'll dive into that in a second. Just on a technical view, I'm going to get some of this stuff out of here. Obviously, it's very obvious to see that we are still in a weekly uptrend. We are above the 200-day SMA when we dive into this on a daily time frame, although we are in a downtrend on the daily. We know this by being below the 200-day SMA. Now, I'm not saying this is always going to be perfect, guys. One lesson that I think is very important for a lot of like new investors to learn is that you never really want to be buying under the 200-day SMA. You want to be looking for strong action in one movement and buy in on those dips. And on the opposite side here, right? Like being that we're trading below the 200-day SMA, you would want to look for big rips to go into a short position. Now, it's not always going to work. There's a lot more that has to go into it. But that's just how it goes. So when we dive into this right now, a couple things that I really want to point out, if I can ever find my rectangle, I lose this thing all the time. We are sitting at this very nice area of support. We know this because this area has acted as a huge resistance many times before. We have come down, we've touched our support, we've broken up, we've reached this point before and we've fallen off, and we're coming back down to this point again. So typically a lot of people would say buy into this situation. I'm seeing a lot of chatter right now on Wall Street bets about people going into AMD for various reasons. I'm not seeing anybody talking about the fundamentals because fundamentals are boring and people don't like talking about them, but it is ultimately what is going to drive the stock price in the long run. So with that being said, my big concerns now, just diving into a quick comparison here, I want to show you guys this. Now, what you guys can see here is just a quick little valuation comparison between NVIDIA and AMD. Obviously, it must be worth noting that Nvidia is a 3.3 trillion market cap and AMD is 205 billion. For simplicity's sake, we're going to say about 1/10 the market cap. So just going into this valuation, guys, some big concerns I have. Very, very, very important one is going to be your forward price to earnings. Right here, as you can see, AMD is currently trading at a 98 forward PE, whereas NVIDIA is trading at a 47. This takes future growth into consideration when assigning the PE to it. Now, AMD is trading at a lower price to sales than NVIDIA, but when we look at it from a price to cash flow, because free cash flow is essentially what is going to get returned to investors, we're sitting at about 100 on a price to cash flow, which is about double NVIDIA's. So once again, you're paying double for the free cash flow of this company as you would be NVIDIA. Now, with that, you would want to see much higher growth. But when we dive into the growth, once again, we have some very weird things. Just looking at top line year-on-year revenue growth at 10%, I hate to see that. It's just not, it's not a good number. When you have a company, your biggest competitor generating 153% on the year, and you're trading at a 2x price to free cash flow, I don't love that valuation. Now, EBITDA growth, once again, these are good numbers. These are, guys, like, these growth numbers are solid here, but just compare it to its main competitor. It's just lackluster. When we dive into profitability, once again, gross profit margins lagging NVIDIA's by about 23% right now. We are seeing, cash from operations. Remember, I said this is 1/10 the market cap. We are trading at 1/25 the cash from operations. As you can see, not like this matters a lot, but just something interesting is your net income per employee. I don't place a big value on this. It's net income is, you're not always going to be net income positive, especially on a growth company like AMD. But it's just something worth noting. The return on total cap, the return on assets, and the return on equity, and their levered free cash flow margin is marginally so much worse than NVIDIA's. So with that, guys, we're going to dive more into the financial statements here, but I just wanted to show you guys some of this. And once again, into the income statement, operating income is about 1/70th. So everything we've looked at, guys, I personally just right now, when you see that, NVIDIA is the better investment. I don't care how you look at it. I don't care what happened in recent price action. I don't care that NVIDIA's been going up for a while. AMD's been going down. There's a reason behind why this is happening. They just are not, fundamentally, when you dive into their financial statements, they are not NVIDIA. People like them because they believe they compete with them and they are in the same class, which they are. But like I said, all you got to do is look at the numbers and they will tell you a whole different story here. So from this perspective, guys, and if you look at this, this is probably why there's been a lot of, EPS down revisions. I mean, look at the up revisions on NVIDIA, the down revisions on AMD. All this is making sense when you start adding this stuff up. As I said, though, the reason why I'm making this video is because AMD has an earnings report coming out soon, and a lot of people on Wall Street bets are talking about it. So I think this is a hot topic that people might be interested in. So moving forward here into the 10Q, just some real basic things. I'm not going to pull out a calculator. I'm just going to try to keep this real simplistic as best as I can. Diving into I like looking at the 9 months ended. 3 months is fine too, but I like looking at 9 months. As you guys can see, net revenues are up from 16.5 to 18.1. Gross profits up from 7.5 to 8.843. These aren't great numbers. Like I said, when you dive into NVIDIA's numbers, these are a lot better on their side of things. Now, when we let me go over this one. We look at our balance sheet, guys. We can see the total assets is up. We are up about $2 billion in total assets. Our total liabilities are, where are we at with our total liabilities? I got to take total liabilities less stockholders equity, which I'm not going to do right now. But if this is going up to, our liabilities have stayed kind of flat. Our assets have went up about $2 billion. So that's a good thing there. It's not, but it's just nothing crazy to see there. In the cash flows, when you look at the statement of cash flows here, their net cash provided by operating activities is up a very nice margin, which is, it's good to see that as well. The investing and financing stuff's a little bit more tricky, so I'm not going to really dive into that because some of it's a nuance and nothing stands out to me really to be like worth noting, so I'm not really going to talk too much about that. And yeah, that's about it from like the financial standpoint, guys, without diving too much into this. Overall, though, what I'm trying to get out of this video is to let you guys know that despite what you hear on AMD, and whatever your thoughts are on the company, it is lagging hard behind Nvidia. Now, do I believe that this current price is fair? I still think it's overpriced. I've said this for a long time. I mean, if you would get AMD probably right here in this $90 to $100 range is where I would consider this to be a starter entry on this name, but I do not love this name up here at 126. People seem to be very bullish going into earnings, but I do believe a big push down to the 100 could happen after earnings. It could really shock some people, and people aren't going to be expecting it, which is typically what happens in the markets more often than not. So with that being said, guys, I do not like AMD going into this earnings report. I would need to see, I want to see bigger changes. I don't like this price to earnings where it's at. We need to see we need to see partnerships increasing. We need to see the revenue increasing. We need to see them becoming more profitable. I want to see those gross margins go up as well. Because all in all, they are lagging NVIDIA in terms of valuation, in terms of growth. Every single metric that you look at, efficiency, they are lagging them. And like I said, I'm using them as a competitor because it's obviously their main competitor there, but it's just a very good company to look at when gauging, where this industry / sector wants to trade at. So with that being said, that's my take on AMD, guys. I would be very careful playing this name into earnings. I do believe that you could be in for some big downward pressure, as there are a lot of people that think this is going to be a buy zone. I don't see it that way. I'd be very concerned for some of those reasons that I showed. If you guys have any questions about any of the, anything from the financial statements, I don't like diving into them too much. I don't want to bore you guys, but I like covering some just very important things that need to be looked at. Please let me know in the comments. I'd be glad to get to those. And yeah, with that being said, guys, let me know what you want to see in the next one. I have tons of new content. We'll have new videos out, hopefully 1 or 2 of these a week, maybe a couple more. We're just getting started with the YouTube thing, so we're just going to see how everything goes. But guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like AMD or if you don't like AMD, what's your rationale? And I'd be excited to talk to you guys about that. Also, if you guys are interested in checking out my Patreon, the link is in the bio. I had it for a while. I had to deactivate some of it, but I'm going to be starting back up my Patreon here very, very shortly. So if you guys want to check that out, feel free to go down there if you want to support. If not, no big deal. Whatever you guys want to do. I'm going to keep these videos coming on here no matter what. So with that being said, guys, we will see you in the next one. Peace.